Today's podcast is divided into two parts. The first part is about attachment. A term to know is stranger anxiety. Around 8 months of age, children begin to develop a fear of strangers. When we talk about attachment, we need to focus on some of the background. So Harry and Margaret Harlow were studying learning with monkeys in the 1950s. Harlow separated monkeys from their mothers at birth and raised them in sanitary individual cages. Each cage had a baby blanket. When the blankets were removed to be washed, the babies became very anxious and upset. So they did a new experiment. In each cage, the Harlows placed two artificial mothers. One was made of bare wire with a wooden head and a feeding bottle. Its only purpose was to provide food or nourishment. The other one was wrapped in terry cloth, but it did not have a feeding bottle. This one was to provide comfort. And so the purpose was to see which mattered more to an infant, nourishment or physical contact. The findings were that the Harlows found that the baby monkeys overwhelmingly preferred the terry cloth mother. They would be found clinging to this mother when they were anxious. They used this mother as a secure base. So we're going to watch this video to see some of their studies on monkeys.
Let me show you a monkey raised on a nursing wire mother. Now here are 106's two mothers. As you can see, it was weaned on a wire mother. Here's baby 106. Watch. He's going to the wire mother. He's got to eat to live. Oh, he's going back. He's back on the cloth mother, and he'll stay on the cloth mother. Actually, this baby spends from 17 to 18 hours a day on the cloth mother and less than 1 hour a day on the wire mother. We had predicted that the variable of contact comfort would be a variable of measurable importance, but we were unprepared to find that it completely overwhelmed and overshadowed all other variables, including those of nursing.
Frankly, Doctor, if it comes to a choice between wire and cloth, it's reasonable to expect that any child will go to the cloth. It's a matter of creature comfort, like a baby with its blanket. But is this really love?
Well, what do you mean by saying that a baby loves its mother? Certainly one thing we mean is that it gets a great feeling of security in the presence of the mother. Now, Mr. Collingwood, wouldn't you say that if you frightened a baby, that it went running to its mother, was comforted, and then all the fear disappeared and was replaced by a complete sense of security that that baby loved its mother? Now, in this experiment, this is the apparatus we use.
That looks diabolical.
That's just the way the baby monkey feels about it. Flashing eyes, loud sound, moving mechanical parts, all of these things are designed to frighten a monkey. Now here we have a peaceful, resting baby monkey. Let's find out what his reactions to his mother are when we frighten him.
He's scared, all right.
And he does what any child will do in a similar situation.
He runs away.
It's more than running away. He was running to his mother, to touch her, to drive away his fear. Contact with the mother changes his entire personality. Look, now he's actually threatening the diabolical object. All This gives us part of the picture of the strength of infantile love. This is a 6-foot square room with a few toys and other objects. But to the monkey, it's much more menacing. We know that when our own children are taken to a strange place without their mothers, they are often overwhelmed with fear. This room is just such a new and strange environment for the baby monkeys. No mother is in there. Now, let's put a monkey into the room. Notice how cautiously he enters the room. He's searching for comfort, but nothing relieves his disturbance. Now we'll take the baby monkey out and put in a wire mother.
Now, this one was nursed by a wire mother.
That's right, all his life.
She doesn't seem to help much.
Now we'll try the same test with a cloth mother in the room. You see the contrast in the behavior? Despite the fact that the wire mother nursed him, she could offer this infant nothing in the way of affection or security. But here the monkey, by rubbing against the cloth mother, as if he were seeking as much contact comfort as he could get, builds up his reservoir of affection and security. First, his body relaxes as the fear disappears. But above and beyond this, new positive response patterns appear. He now goes out to explore and investigate this new, strange world. He is now a normal, happy, curious baby.
So, a critical period in development is the optimal period early in life of an organism when exposure to certain stimuli or experiences produces normal development. Something that's interesting in some species is that they imprint. So, imprinting is the process where certain animals form strong attachments during an early life critical period. So, the next video we're going to watch demonstrates imprinting.
Meet Jessica Meir.
I'm Jessica Meir, and I'm a scientist at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada.
Meir is a biologist and a postdoctoral researcher at the university. But to a brood of 12 goslings, she's also something else. Mom.
And they really think that I'm their mother.
The 7-month-old bar-headed goslings, so called for the stripes that adults have on their head, are imprinted on Meir. Imprinting was a process that started as soon as they hatched.
I went to the Sylvan Heights Waterfowl Park in North Carolina just in time a few days before the birds were going to hatch. And so I was the first thing that they saw. I actually held them in my hand as soon as they came out of the egg.
All summer long, it was intensive bonding time between Meir and her chicks.
And so we would spend long hours and days in North Carolina in the summer just sitting outside, and they were crawling all over me and napping on top of me. And then we would go for walks and come back. And especially in the beginning, I would say, I'm not sure who's imprinted more, them on me or me on them.
The imprinting is just a tool to familiarize the geese with being held and observed and to make them more easily trainable. The real question behind Meir's research is something else. How did these geese accomplish super bird feats of flight? See, bar-headed geese are among the highest migrating species on the planet, and have even been spotted flying above Mount Everest in their annual migration between southern and central Asia. To put that into perspective, that's higher than songbirds, geese, eagles, small planes, and some commercial jets. It's cold enough at that altitude that exposed skin can freeze instantly, and there's only a third as much oxygen as there is at sea level. So how do the birds do it? Well, among the bar-headed geese's adaptations are large lungs. They can breathe more deeply than many other birds, and under low oxygen they breathe more frequently too. Research has found that they also have red blood cells that grab oxygen especially well, and carry that oxygen through capillaries that are especially dense in these birds' muscles.
So all of these things have been shown, but all of these things have been shown on resting animals and animals in the lab.
So Mir plans to soon put her geese into a wind tunnel to observe their body's responses while they fly in low oxygen conditions like those above the Himalayas. Electrodes will measure the bird's heart rate and temperature, and a custom-fit mask on the bird's beak will measure their respiration. Mir hopes that these experiments reveal further, unique adaptations of bar-headed geese. In the meantime, as she prepares for that research, Mir continues her parental duties.
And now, as the birds have gotten older, they can all fly, and so we've switched over to doing the flight training. That started on a bicycle and now has evolved into using a scooter, and it's a really great time. It's an absolutely amazing feeling to be on the scooter and to glance over my shoulder and sometimes right next to me, so close that their wingtip is brushing my arm, and looking at this animal in the eye and seeing its face that close to you in flight. It's really an amazing experience. There are a lot more questions that remain about the bar-headed goose, and I can foresee lots of different experiments, and they are such exceptional animals that I really think it should continue.
So, over time, as individuals grow older, the need for critical periods weakens. Later in life, brain plasticity, which we've talked about already in this class, takes control, especially in people who have suffered injuries or illnesses. So, this next video we're going to watch is about someone named Gabby Giffords. She was a victim of gun violence, and so she has had to overcome a lot of brain trauma. And so she is a living example of how brain plasticity can help someone recover functions that were lost in a trauma or injury.
Representative Gabby Giffords received a standing ovation when she returned to the House for the first time after being shot in January of 2011. She's retired from Congress now, but not from active support for her causes. Giffords and her husband, Mark Kelly, recently welcomed our Lee Cowan to their home for this Sunday Profile.
Feed the dog, feed the dog.
It's dinner time at Gabby Giffords' home in Tucson, Arizona. At least for one hungry resident.
Nelson, bark! Speak! Speak!
That's Nelson, Gabby's service dog, who's full of surprises. Like, what can he do?
Hi-choo! Oh, thank you very much. Good puppy dog.
Nelson lives to help. But the happy truth is, Gabby Giffords doesn't need as much help anymore.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
Each day a little better?
A little bit better.
Yeah. As you recover, are you trying to sort of get back the old Gabby or trying to find a new Gabby?
The new one. Better, stronger, tougher.
It would be hard to imagine anyone tougher than Gabrielle Giffords, the then Congresswoman who went to meet with her constituents in a Safeway parking lot 4 years ago and left with a bullet in her brain. 12 others were wounded. 6 of her constituents were killed.
How about 2 fingers?
She has made remarkable progress.
All right. Give me 5. Good job.
This was just weeks after the shooting.
Good job, sweetie.
That voice is husband, Mark Kelly.
How far have you seen her come?
A long way. I mean, in the beginning, what were the first words you would say?
What? Chicken, chicken, chicken.
That was it.
Chicken, chicken, chicken.
Over and over again.
Chicken, 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 chicken.
That's all he said.
Chicken, chicken, chicken.
That's actually a good thing, because just think of how many other words it possibly could have been.
Right? That's true.
Which could have been.
Tucson, Arizona.
It's been an emotional and painful battle back.
Good. Make that right arm catch up with your left.
Gabby has limited use of her right arm and leg, and only partial vision in her right eye.
So if Gabby's looking at me, like she can't see, tell me when you see my finger.
Yes.
So all
the right side. But you know what? It just gives me an opportunity to sneak up from that other side.
The spark in their marriage is as bright as ever. They know what each other is thinking before they say it, and that's crucial. Because for Gabby, the saying part remains the most frustrating challenge.
When you've got something that you want to say, and it just can't seem to get from here to here.
Awful. I'm so sad.
The condition is called aphasia.
Everything's almost on the tip of your tongue,
Yes, tip of the tongue.
but just not quite all the way there.
All the way.
Yeah, which is it's pretty frustrating.
Yes, frustrating.
Even frustrating for me a little bit.
Yes.
I try to be patient. Sometimes I try to help. Sometimes I'm not helping. And Gabby tells me.
No way, Jose.
Music, it turns out, is easier than language. At 44, she's trying to relearn the French horn. She used to play it in marching band.
Is that from when you had in high school?
High school.
It's your same horn.
It's the same horn.
And you hadn't picked it up for years and years.
Years. Oh, no, not really.
Giffords has always been the determined sort, especially in politics. At 32, she became the youngest woman ever elected to the Arizona State Senate. She was in Congress 4 years later and was just beginning her third term when the shooting happened.
We are sent here by our constituents to be their voices in Washington.
So what was it about public service that always inspired you?
I have a passion for helping people. Always have.
Mark Kelly was in public service of a different sort. Navy captain and test pilot, he joined NASA and flew 4 missions aboard the space shuttle, commanding the Endeavor's final flight, while Gabby was undergoing brain surgery.
What was that like for you?
It was hard. She was on the operating table literally as I was looking out the window flying the Rendezvous. We're both going 17,500 miles an hour. And I've got to fly this within about 2 inches to docking while Gabby's in there with the neurosurgeon.
Did you worry about him?
Yes.
You worried about me my last trip into space?
Yeah.
It's risky business. It's not quite as risky as being a congresswoman.
Yeah. Oh.
As it turns out.
Oh, well.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
A little over a year after the assassination attempt, Gabby Giffords officially resigned from Congress. Both she and Mark Kelly found themselves at a crossroads. Their old lives were gone, the future uncertain. And then came the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut.
We went and visited Newtown and visited a bunch of the parents afterwards. And you talk about a tough.
Oh, awful.
And when you meet them, you just feel like, it's kind of an obligation to try to do something.
Yes.
Not that they dislike guns. Both Kelly and Giffords are avid gun owners. In fact, Gabby has been learning how to shoot with her left hand now.
There's no reason why we can't have, our right to gun ownership and at the same time do everything we possibly can to keep guns out of the hands of the dangerously mentally ill, felons, domestic abusers, stalkers.
They co-wrote Enough, a book published by Simon & Schuster, a division of CBS.
Hello, Cincinnati!
And they formed Americans for Responsible Solutions, a political action committee that raised millions to push for gun control.
Congress is afraid of the gun lobby. Tell Washington it's Too dangerous to wait.
When a bipartisan proposal for expanded federal background checks failed by just a handful of votes back in 2013, Gabby stood behind an angry President Obama in the Rose Garden.
So all in all, this was a pretty shameful day for Washington.
A bad day. Bad day.
Why do you think nothing has happened in Congress on this issue?
Oh, so slowly. Slow pace.
But is it just that it's slow? It doesn't even seem like it's making any progress.
A little bit.
Stopping gun violence takes courage.
She and Mark were back on Capitol Hill earlier this month, trying again.
Do you think you'd ever run for office again?
Maybe.
What about you? There's been whispers that you might throw your hat in the ring at some point?
It's like anything, you never say never. It's not something I have planned. Right circumstances, I might consider it.
For now, he's busy writing children's books and taking care of Gabby. 3 times a week, they ride bikes together.
It's a pretty nice day.
Yes, gorgeous day.
Gabby even completed an 11-mile race last year. But Gabby being Gabby, she wasn't satisfied with that.
But what are we going to do next year?
Bike ride, 40 miles.
40 miles. Speed.
Speed.
Pedal.
For Mark Kelly and Gabrielle Giffords, their life is much like that bike ride. It's about balance, endurance, and never looking back.
Things happen to you in life, and there's some things you can do something about it, and then there's other things you can't, and you just move ahead.
You just have to keep moving.
Moving. Yes.
Plugging away.
Another study on attachment is Mary Ainsworth. In 1979, she developed the strange situation experiment. The procedure was to observe mother-infant pairs at home for the first 6 months of their life. Then, she observed that 1-year-old infant in a strange situation. So she brought them to a laboratory playroom. In your notes, I would recommend that you write down the things that are in like this black color. The red is just extra information you don't need to include. So the findings were that in this new situation, 60% of infants showed secure attachment, while 40% showed insecure attachment. So what that means, secure attachment says that they played comfortably, they explored the new environment, and their mother was present. Their mother would get up and leave the room, and they cried. They began to look for her, and when she returned, they looked for contact with her. So they went back, they wanted her to give them a hug or just to be near them. For insecure attachment, the infants were less likely to explore the new environment. They clung to their mother while she was in the room. Once the mother left the room, they actually cried really loudly and might have been indifferent towards her when she returned. They showed a lack of trust. So sensitive, responsive mothers lead to secure attachment. Insensitive or unresponsive mothers, so they care when it's convenient, that can lead to insecure attachment. So what happens if we're deprived of attachment? Most infants can recover from separation and distress if they're placed in a more positive and stable environment, but after age 2, there's an increased risk of long-term attachment problems. The second part of this podcast talks about Kohlberg and Gilligan. So there are 3 levels of morality according to Kohlberg: pre-conventional morality, conventional, and post-conventional morality. Pre-conventional morality is how we process things before the age of 9. Conventional morality would fall around early adolescence, and then post-conventional morality would be adolescence and beyond. So pre-conventional morality is a focus on self-interest. We obey rules to avoid punishment or to gain rewards. Conventional morality would be the focus of upholding laws and rules to gain social approval or to maintain social order. While post-conventional morality is when our actions reflect belief in basic rights and self-defined ethical principles. We start thinking outside of ourselves. Gilligan, she was actually Kohlberg's research assistant, and she worked with Erikson as well. Her main contribution is that she was critical of Kohlberg's theory of morality, and she said that it favored men in Western societies. Under Kohlberg's categories, Gilligan argued that many women would never reach the highest level of moral development. So Gilligan found that men and women process the world differently, that the masculine voice is logical and individualistic with a focus on justice, while the feminine voice emphasizes taking care of other people and prioritizing interpersonal relationships. So for Gilligan, she adapted Kohlberg's morality principles. And so the things that are different from Kohlberg are in red. So for pre-conventional morality, she said the focus should be survival and self-interest. For conventional morality, she said the focus should be that we prioritize selflessness and caring about others. And post-conventional morality is that we take responsibility for the consequences of choices and gain control of their own lives. Caring for others is a big part of this stage.